A warm welcome to the Institute for Career Studies, Professor Sethi and Nikita. We are delighted to have you back at ICS after your very successful journey from school to Ashoka University and beyond. Heartiest congratulations.
Thank you.
On graduating successfully from Ashoka University. You're one of the star students, and we are proud that ICS has had a role in your journey. So we have with us today a proud parent, a father, Professor Sethi, eminent doctor of cardiology, professor at the King George's Medical University, who's also an author. He's written a book called The Sage, which is so inspiring because we realize that we can have a career portfolio that brings together building blocks of our talent. And he encourages the medical students to write, to act, to sing, and be professionally excellent. Welcome. And once again, a warm welcome to you, Nikita. I'd like to start by asking you to share your journey from the Martinia Girls' School to Ashoka University. How did you identify Ashoka University as your dream campus?
So when I was in middle school, I was very clear that I wanted to be a musician. And it was an easy enough decision. I mean, that was all I knew how to do well. That was all I loved. And I mean, it was easy to say out loud to people as well, because at that age, nobody asks, what do you want to do? They ask, what do you want to be? And so it was easy enough for me to say I want to be a musician. But soon these conversations become into subjects and streams and careers. And that's when I first was introduced to ICS, and we had a counseling session in school. And I went in and I begged the counselor. I was like, please don't recommend computer science. Even I know I have the aptitude for it. I want to just, I didn't say it, but I wanted to take part in competitions and I wanted to do other things. And I was like, computer will take up too much of my time. Yeah. And I didn't want. So she heard me and she said, okay. And she's like, there is aptitude, but there's no interest. So she recommended another subject. But I get home and, our families are families. And they're like, no, you're taking computers. And I was like, okay. And the reason they wanted me to take computers is to keep my options open. And so I did. I took computers. And I was great at it. I loved computers while I was studying it. And my teacher was so sure that I'm going to end up doing something in computer science. I'm going to end up graduating in computer science. I'll pursue computer science. So she was very disappointed when I said I wanted to do humanities.
Yes.
And it wasn't a great conversation with my parents either, in the beginning. And they wanted me to take science. And again, they wanted me to take science because they wanted me to keep my options open. And it was a long discussion over months after 10th grade. Finally, I did take science. I switched schools. I went to St. M.R. Jaipuria. And the compromise was that I get to take psychology. And I went to Jaipuria, I went to my first class of psychology, and I absolutely loved psychology. And from that moment on, I was that was the first time that I had actually connected with the subject, and I thought, and I had real interest in the subject. And then I did a lot with that subject in school as well. I went for quizzes and academic quizzes. That was the first time I was doing co-curricular, which was related to my academics. And I had a great time studying psychology. So the natural stream of things is that, okay, so that means the bachelor's in psychology, which means DU. That's the first conversation. But all my life, and all my school life, I had, at any moment, I was interested in 3 different things, 5 different things. So I was not very comfortable, even though I loved psychology, I was not very comfortable giving 3 years of my life to psychology alone. Because this time I wanted to keep my options open. So you told me Ashoka about Ashoka for the first time, and yeah, I read up about it. We also had a visit from them in school, and the more I looked into it, the more I realized how much I can do in psychology and outside of psychology in that place. So that was my like journey of realizing that Ashoka is the place where I want to be. If I honestly, I thought that's the place I wanted to be if I want to keep being in love with psychology. Because my love for psychology came from the fact that I had 10 co-curriculars to choose from, and out of those I would pick psychology every time. So that active choice is what kept me passionate about this subject. And in Ashoka, I did so much other than psychology. And I still wanted to come back and study my subject.
How
And
wonderful that
yeah.
is. You've described this entire thought process so beautifully, because you've also described the dilemma most students face and how you overcame that dilemma. Now, in the choice of psychology, did counseling help you to focus, career counseling, to focus on psychology as a subject of strength?
Definitely. I think when I realized that I liked psychology, I mean, that time also I did approach you, and we went through a lot of, like, it was hours and hours of, talking, not just us and my parents. And I feel like I knew I loved psychology, but the process of finding a university and actually pursuing psychology, definitely, like, counseling was something that came in like the process.
And also for the change of school, that you could consider psychology with whatever else you were studying, and it was on offer. I think that helped you to explore the subject.
Yes, definitely, yeah.
So at this stage, Professor Sethi, I recall that you as a parent and Nikita's mom, Dr. Rohini Khurana, who's an eminent radiologist, both very busy doctors, played a significant role in understanding what her choice was and challenging the existing stereotype that my daughter should take science because it would open maximum choices. And you actually explored a field that was emerging, and while exploring it, you had a lot of questions and we had many discussions here. So, I'd like to know your experience as a father in understanding what your daughter wanted and aligning your thoughts with hers and guiding her for her future.
So thank you so much, ma'am, for having us, and I really have deep sense of gratitude that over last 4 to 5 years that are difficult for any parent and any teenage child growing up. You were there with us to guide us as a mentor and as a friend. Thank you so much for that first.
It's been an immense privilege, a pleasure. Enjoyed every part of the journey.
Right. Coming to this dilemma of, as most parents, pushing their children into very kind of predefined careers of medical, engineering, law, and so on and so forth. I feel that it's what do ultimately parents want for their children is happiness. Their focus on these particular streams is somehow driven out of their own experiences, because when they were growing up, there were only 2 or 3 experiences fields left, and successive people 20 years before were either engineers, doctors, lawyers, or civil servants. So that's probably an inertia of that generation. Like children need to be exposed to different choices. I feel that it is also very important that parents should also be exposed to different choices, because they themselves are unaware. They have grown up chronologically in age, but in terms of experience of how the world of education and how the world is changing around them, they need to be taught that. And the receptive of them will certainly look through that logic. Coming to my personal experience, I did actually wanted Nikita to take up music initially, because that was her passion. After her 10th, she went to a trip to US, went to Berklee College of Music, and then we just played around that if music is her first choice, what should be her backup? Of course, as all parents, we said you select between engineering and medicine. And when nothing was carried out, we said, okay, like if nothing is working, then at least medicine is something, biology is something that we have experienced. So at least we can guide you. So we were trying to, actually limit her choices in terms of our own life's experiences. But then came your introductions to our lives, and we got ourselves exposed to so many things. And I discovered initially there was, I would say, a couple of months, 2-3 months of conflict in the family also between Nikita and me, and we thought that there was a sense of non-clarity of commonness in our paths forward. But then I realized and I saw that when you exposed her to different career options, psychology, she started loving psychology so much. And after that, she's loving psychology and we want her to be happy. So it became a natural choice. The tricky question was that we were considering US universities. When you take psychology, as Nikita has said right now, we can be thinking of either pure psychology honors from something like standard Delhi University or Mumbai or standard universities, or the upcoming universities which are classified as the liberal arts universities. So I think liberal arts universities fill this perfect void that you want your child to be exposed to the international learning. At the same point of time, for one reason or the other, they are not going to US or the UK universities. So I think that's the sweet spot we hit in the liberal arts university, and we were lucky enough to find Ashoka, and we thank you for guiding us in that path.
And I'm so happy that you had this consensus within the family.
Yeah.
And then we all moved together.
Yeah.
And I recall how inspired and motivated Nikita was, that we all believed in her choice. And that propelled her forward to go through the very, I would say, competitive process of getting into Ashoka University, because it's a top choice for a lot of students. Professor Sethi, even today, a lot of parents say, what is in it for liberal arts when it comes to careers? How valuable will it be for our children for future careers? And I'm sure you face this question also, because now many have understood about liberal arts. And Nikita has spread the word also in her social circle. How do you respond to parents?
At this moment, we realize it pretty early, but at this moment I say that probably the options with students graduating from good liberal arts universities are much, much more than they are in, let's say, very focused specialities. Firstly, it allows you, just after class 12th, it is a very early stage to ask a child or any person to have a final decision about what their life is going to be. So getting into a liberal arts universities allows you to study your core subject that you are studying. It also allows you to be exposed to a diverse field, from literature to media studies to critical thinking to arts in so many forms. And at that point of time, you have 3 years to decide which is the thing that motivates you, which is your ikigai, and then you can carry forward. The options actually here are more. And again, a misconception, probably because arts is built into the system of liberal arts. Everyone says that it's an arts kind of thing. Liberal arts actually means that you have a core subject. It's called as the T system of education, in which you have the vertical arm of T, which you are studying, where you are studying your core subject as your majors, and then you can have your minors or a second major in a diverse subject to make you a holistic person than completely focused on one specialty.
So well said.
Yeah.
And you can bring together arts and science,
Yes.
for that matter.
Yes.
And perhaps that would bring clarity to parents, because especially when a student who's taken up science opts to go for a liberal arts university and pursues science, there's a lot of confusion. Liberal arts and science, what's the correlation? And you have read a lot about it. And in a world of interdisciplinarity, I'd love you to share the correlation between all of these subjects.
So another term that I am thankful for, actually you that introduced me to this term, was IR 4.0. We are living in a revolution. We are actually entering the peak of a revolution that would be defined by artificial intelligence and interdisciplinary care, interdisciplinary studies and careers.
Yes.
In that sense, I feel even the students of science who go into a liberal arts universities would be much better off as compared to studying science in, let's say, an engineering institutions or a pure scientific institutions, because these are the days where someone is supposed to do a major in mathematics and he also has a minor in health studies, epidemiology. The marketplace, if I may use this term in terms of education for, although not sounding correctly in terms of the educational milieu, but actually the market of such students coming out of educational institutions would be much more. Someone who is a great painter and at the same point of time has got a minors in computer studies, the computer aided designs and all would be helpful. So it's like 2 or 3 specialities built into one person would be much more valuable than as compared to one single person study, and then you look out for other people to help you in order to, because these are the days of interdisciplinary careers and interdisciplinary realms of life.
And you defined it so perfectly. That's why there's a new field which you may have heard about, which has come up recently, the medical humanities.
Yes.
Wherein students who study health sciences or biology and have studied sociology or psychology or social work move into this branch of medical humanities, where they are very good with patient care, and they work closely with doctors. Also, you'll be interested to know that Microsoft, in a recent study called The Future Computed, has written that AI should be for the benefit of humanity. And if you were to look at the application of AI for the benefit of humanity, then every student of engineering and technology would have to study humanities and vice versa. And you have actually underscored this concept.
So absolutely true, madam. And in that context, I would like to just add on one point, that in one of the meetings and conferences I was discussing, and people were asking this question from AI professionals, whether AI is going to replace every other profession. Let's say, is AI going to replace doctors of the future or the architects of the futures? So the very nice statement that I heard from the person who was speaking on the forum was that AI is not going to replace the professionals, but the professionals who would be using AI would be replacing professionals who would not be using AI. So that
absolutely. So that is the future. We've got to use the emerging technologies, which are, I would say, improving in quantum leaps and becoming more and more elegant and refined and fast. We've got to use those technologies in the best possible way for the benefit of humankind. And that was so well described. Thank you, Professor Sethi, for your wonderful insights about the importance of liberal arts. You really explained it well. And I hope lots of parents and students and teachers will have the opportunity to understand it from you and gain a fresh perspective. Back to you, Nikita. So, I would be very interested to know about your liberal arts experience, all that you studied, the courses you took up, and how it prepared you to be future ready.
Essentially, I did a BSc in psychology, which is another thing that I love. It's one of the very few places that offers a bachelor's in science and recognizes psychology in the STEM field, which is something that's been done in abroad for many years now, but in India we still don't have the concept of, we still consider psychology to be humanities. And I did a minor in media studies. But other than these two things that made it onto my degree, there were so many things and so many different disciplines that I got to experience in Ashoka, especially because of their foundation courses and their critical thinking courses. Those are something that are at the very foundation of Ashoka, and that's basically one of the things that make their system liberal, because I mean liberal arts, because at the end of the day you could just, I mean, do your BSc honors and be done with it, but you have to do these foundation courses which have subjects from economy, polity, society, and you have psychology and biology in terms of mind and behavior. You have principles of science, and you have a critical thinking seminar, which is the most unique foundation course of all.
This is fascinating. Which of these subjects that you take during
You take all.
So you took all of this?
You have to take all of them.
Wow.
Yes.
I want to go and study it, Ashoka, because you excited me, this quest for knowledge.
You have to take history, you have to take geography, you have to study science, you have to study English with forms of literature, and you study science, and you have to study math with, and not just math. If you don't want to go into pure math, you can, I mean, the course is called quantitative reasoning, so you can, and mathematical thinking. So it's not mathematical ability, it's mathematical thinking. So how do you think mathematically? And so these courses, and so you study all disciplines, and in your first semester you have to take, you cannot go into your major without having stepped into at least 4 different fields. So that was a very interesting time. Foundation courses really open up your mind to all sorts of experiences, which is something that college is about. It's about being open to experiences, and there is no better way to enter into college other than literally in your first semester you don't get to study your subject, you study everything else. So
you're swimming the ocean of knowledge.
Yes.
So you mentioned critical thinking. How was that structured?
Oh, so critical thinking is structured, I cannot even explain the structure, because each instructor hand designs the course. It's designed by each instructor. The instructors essentially take 1 or 2 weeks in the beginning to speak to the students, see what kind of class they have. They design it with the students, and it's a very unique kind of experience actually. There are instructors who are from a film background, there are instructors who are from literary background. My instructor was from a law background. So depending on that, it can be about critiquing movies and media that you see. Mine was we spoke about the constitution in depth, and politics, and that was the critical thinking seminar that I was a part of. And at the end of the day, all of them have one goal, which is to teach you to think in a way that you don't limit your own thinking, in a way that you don't stick to your own narrative of things, in the way that you explore different narratives and you look into things that you're not comfortable with, thought processes that you're not comfortable with. You conform to a certain idea, you look completely into the other idea, you're allowed to disagree with it, but first you need to learn about it. So it's, in essence, there's literally no other way to describe it other than critical thinking.
I really think this is fascinating. And the way you defined it and described it, it must have been really exhilarating.
It was.
So when you studied the Constitution, what were the processes that you went through in arriving at some critical thinking kind of conclusions?
So I say the Constitution, but actually we were only talking about the preamble, and the entire course, the entire 4 months, we were only talking about each word from the preamble. So we literally from we the people we started, and we started from why we start from the phrase we the people, and then we discussed each word, and we weren't the first people to do it. The first people to do it were the people who wrote the preamble.
Yes, so true.
So it was our purpose of doing it was to get just a glimpse of how much thought went into writing those couple of words, and to have that included, being the introduction and essentially the preamble of our Constitution. So our final project, actually we worked on only one project in that class. Throughout the 4 months we were working on one paper, and that one paper was that you pick one word from the preamble and you talk about just why that came into being, why was that chosen for the preamble. So the word I chose was liberty, and the discussion that we had in class about it was why was the word liberty chosen and not freedom.
What an amazing insight.
Yeah. So Dr. Ambedkar proposed the word liberty and Prime Minister Nehru proposed the word freedom. So I went into like what the Constituent Assembly meetings were about, who was in charge of making this decision, and basically I just opened that chapter of history, but not as history, but like really looking into the day-to-day workings of that history and how what was happening in the constituent meetings. And you know, when you go into the archives, these things are so detailed that like you don't even realize, like you think history, some fragments are missing, but not from the time of when the constitution was made. Like that was such a historic period and we have so much documentation that when you go into it, there were archives of like minutes of the meetings, there were voice recordings. So to actually hear people talk about it in like in today's world, you're listening to a recording of that time. And those were really surreal experiences. It was something that I would have never learned in my life. I would have never looked at it. I would have never even thought about the preamble for 4 months if somebody hadn't made me think about it.
Because whenever we studied it,
Yeah.
we just read it as a paragraph and perhaps memorized it, but never analyzed it.
Yeah.
So what did you feel? Is the word liberty right, or should it be in freedom, or should we have had both?
No, I think at the end I was in favor of liberty, and there was a really wonderful book that was written about this specifically, and I think I am in favor of liberty in the end.
Yes.
When Nikita used to come back and over to telephonic conversations used to tell us about her small learnings of every day, I found this course also to be very, very fascinating. So the beauty is that we have been seeing these things and hearing these things and reading these things all our lives, but then someone shows you a very different facet to it, and it opens up the whole new world. So I remember that maybe in her 3 years she has forgotten, but I remember that conversation that ultimately the gist was that freedom struggle, Dr. Ambedkar ji, and it was it was fortunate for me to learn from Nikita what she was reading, because at that point of time I also went back and heard some of the very rare radio interviews of Ambedkar ji, and could see how brilliance of thought and expression he had even at that point of time. It was really very impressive. And his concept was that freedom struggle essentially was the freedom from Britishers was attained by a certain sections of the society, while the other sections of the society continued to be enslaved by the words of casteism and communalism and economic barriers. So to ensure liberty, to freedom struggle is freedom for a certain section of the country, but the real freedom of the country will happen when there is liberty of thought, expression and faith for all individuals, irrespective of caste or culture or religion or economic barriers. So,
and we are still striving.
Yeah, we are still striving for it. We are
goal.
still striving for this liberty. That was interesting.
And I think revisiting it for students is really important, because now we are far removed from the experiences of our freedom fighters. But we are deep into a situation where India is moving towards becoming a leading global economy, but yet there are sections of our society which are far from that kind of economic freedom.
I'm just wondering, I mean, see, we started off with, and where the liberal arts and where the critical thinking and education in terms of holistic developments, where it takes us in our conversation.
Tell us something more about the co-curricular activities at Ashoka that you participated in.
Co-curriculars have always been very close to my heart, as I mentioned in the beginning. And Ashoka offers such a wide variety of co-curriculars, and so you have to take at least 2 co-curriculars in like to complete your degree. But the for me, the beauty is that there's no maximum. You can take it every semester. Like you can take one per semester, but you can take as many. And it also has a small, like it's not as the grade weightage is not as much as the core courses, but there is a significant amount of like grade weightage as well. But besides that, the co-curricular courses are so interesting that I did a co-curricular course in almost all my semesters. It's something that really helped me engage with all the facilities that the campus had to offer. And even like online, I did a couple of courses. Really, they have music, they have dance, they have art, they have pottery, they have movement in theatre. There's so much to do. And for me, music is a big thing. So I actually went into the depths of Carnatic music and I learned like significant portion of Carnatic music, and I'm already like I've trained in Indian classical music and Western classical music. So now like learning Carnatic classical music was
This is
something
phenomenal. Absolutely amazing, which not even a campus in US would offer.
Yeah.
Because you could do Carnatic music with Western classical
Yes.
music.
And then in another music course that I took, it was essentially songs of India or languages of India, and I learned to sing in 15 different languages.
Wow, congrats!
15!
Like, can you give us an example of what you learned? Can you sing in a language that you picked up, say Tamil? And
One that I remember very well and I really liked was the Marathi song that we learned. So it went something like, Airanicha deva tula thingi thingi vaude Abhara gar tumaya tuji amhavadi raude Abhala gar tumaya tuji amhavari raude. So that was one of the songs.
I would love to nominate you as a cultural ambassador of India. You surely will be wonderful.
Thank you. So yeah, that was very nice, and in the end we basically combined all of these songs that we learned and we sang a medley. And so yeah, there were a lot of performances we put up in this way. There was a CC Mela where everybody demonstrated everything that they learned. Other than that, I picked up art, a lot of art. I learned how to work with charcoal. I learned how to, like, from charcoal to crayons and like oil pastels and dry pastels, and so many different mediums I got to explore all through different CCs. And there was a Dastan Goi course that I was a part of for a short while. It was a short course. So that all of these experiences were brilliant.
And then you had a minor in media.
Yeah.
Major in psychology, minor in media. So did you have very good equipment to work on?
We had excellent equipment to work with. So I was actually the media studies rep.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Another feather in your cap.
Thank you. So the media lab is absolutely brilliant. We have a brilliant camera equipment. We have like proper lighting. We actually have a broadcast studio, like a TV broadcast studio.
Yeah.
It's a soundproof room, and it's that glass wall that you see here. There are all the control panels, and through it you can see this red like background setup with a wooden platform stage with 2 chairs. Like a news
I can see stars in your eyes as you speak.
That was literally, that's how we saw it, like from the outside. We saw it with stars in our eyes, and then we got to actually work hands-on with it. And during courses and even outside courses, my parents received all the like different media projects that I used to do. And we did interviews, we did documentaries. I shot a music video.
I'd love you to give me a copy of that.
Sure.
Yes.
So, and like just running around campus with the equipment, just like saying that, oh my god, sorry, I have an assignment. I'm so busy today. I absolutely cannot make it that fabulous party you're having. I have such an important assignment. And we're just running around campus shooting my friend.
And we can do a bit of shoot with you also. Wonderful. That is so delightful. So now that you've got your degree, and I can see this. It is so awesome. Bachelor of Science in Psychology. Congratulations again. And you were there for the graduation ceremony as proud parents. So what next?
So I will be continuing in Ashoka for another year for their ASV program.
What is
because
ASV?
It's the Advanced Scholars Program.
Right.
It's like a diploma after, but it's also, you can also take it as a fourth year after your third year.
Yes.
And I'm basically choosing to do so because a lot of my college time was taken up with like in COVID, and I basically did not have a lot of campus experience, and I don't feel ready yet to go for another master's, which go for a master's,
Yes.
as I would like to in psychology. So I'm taking some more time. And I'm doing a fourth year, which would also allow me to apply to US universities, as they require 16 years of education. So you need a 4 years bachelor's.
So a very wise decision.
Yeah.
So you told me that you're going to Ireland. Tell us something about your course in Ireland.
Right. So this is one thing that I wanted to talk about today. That, well, liberal arts education in general, but like in specific Ashoka, has so many opportunities, and your degree and your experience can be whatever and as much as you want it to be, and even more. So there are so many opportunities to avail. One of them is their student exchange programs. So they have tie-ups with universities in the US, in Canada, in Ireland, in London, and they're excellent programs. And it's also very accessible because you end up like there's no tuition fee that you have to pay there. You pay your Ashoka tuition fee. If you're on aid, you pay the fee that you pay with aid. And so essentially you don't pay tuition fee there, so you just have to take care of your accommodation, which makes it much more accessible. So I'm going to Dublin. I'm going to Trinity College Dublin.
The best of the best.
I've been told it's a lovely place.
It is.
And
It's a beautiful campus in Dublin and Ireland.
the study abroad team has just been wonderful, and they've really helped us out in the whole process with connecting us to facilities in Dublin, and communicating and coordinating things with the team at Trinity Dublin. So the process is very well designed. It's a really convenient process. And Ashoka is more than happy when it sends out students for these opportunities. They're looking for more and more people to apply. So these opportunities are something that really people should avail.
What will you be studying?
Currently, I've been approved for psychology, music, and language studies. I am still trying to be approved for business studies.
Okay.
So
But I think psychology and music coming together
yeah,
would also resonate with you.
for sure, yes.
But if business can be integrated, particularly entrepreneurship,
Yeah.
that'll be marvelous. I'm sure once you get there, those opportunities will
Yes.
come.
Your disciplines get approved here, and then you can take up as many whatever courses that you want there. So I'm really excited for that experience. I'm there for 1 semester. You can essentially do 1 semester in your bachelor's, and you can then do another semester in your ASP, because they're technically different degrees. But I didn't get an opportunity to go in my bachelor's, so I will be using my first semester in ASP to go.
And once you're through with this, have you thought about the next step? What would you like to be? Where would you like to be based?
I'm still very passionate about psychology, and even though I'm thinking like in 2-3 more directions, I think I would really love to practice as a therapist. I would love to practice therapy.
And would you also consider giving musical performances?
I'm sure somewhere along the way.
Yeah.
But I think education-wise, the next step is a master's in psychology.
Right.
And I will be applying to universities abroad. I'll be applying to the US. So that's in a couple months.
And it's very strategic.
Yeah.
Because psychology is one subject which is in demand. It's an in-demand subject even with tech companies, because they want to humanize the robots. It has to be high touch before high tech. Give all the avatars a persona. And therefore, the trend is that about 20% of the professionals in these companies are going to be people with psychology backgrounds. So you are on the right track, wherein about 80% of specializations from now till 10 years from now don't exist.
Yeah.
But we are sure that if you have psychology and you study music and you have that human touch, you're going to go places.
Yeah.
What suggestions, Nikita, do you have for students so that they make informed choices and they don't come under societal pressure or parental pressure and have the courage to challenge stereotypes?
So this is especially for school students. When you're in school, you receive 100 different pieces of advice from 100 different people. Your teachers say something, your friends say something, your parents are saying something, your relatives are saying something. And you need to find your own voice. And that is something that a lot of people struggle with. And it's very hard to know what you want to do and where your interest is. The only way to avoid pressure, I feel like how I avoided pressure, was I knew what I wanted. Because if you know what you want, it's easy to shut out the other voices. So having a footing on knowing what you want is something that's important. And it's okay, like you can take your time with finding that as well. You can take your time in college to find that as well. But what you owe to yourself is that when you have that little voice in your head that, oh, maybe this thing will be kind of cool, maybe I should try this, maybe I should try public speaking, maybe I should try, designing. A lot of people are going into digital art. Maybe I should, give it a try. Maybe I should try painting. Do it. Because this is in school, that's the time. You can miss a test to do this stuff, but it's gonna get harder and harder to make time to explore what you really want to do, because you never know where that little bit of passion is going to take you. So if you have a little voice in your head telling you that you want to try something, do it. You either found a passion or a hobby that will help you 30 years down the line, 10 years down the line, or you found something that would be your career in the next 5 years. So just listen to yourself.
How well said. You've spoken like a counselor. And your study of psychology has helped to mature that thinking process. I'm very enthralled by all that you said in terms of how you can make informed choices. Dr. Sethi, as a parent who has been through this entire process and given immense support and encouragement to Nikita, along with your wife, her mother, Dr. Rohini Khurana, what message do you have for parents about supporting their children in a career by choice, given that there are no ideal careers, only ideal choices? Please share your views.
So I think the mistake many, if not most, parents commit, and we also were the victim for earlier couple of months and years, in that and you slowly realize as maybe as you grow old or you have a second child. I mean, we all commit our mistakes the first child actually, because we tend to think that what we are thinking is right for our children. But times are changing. Information options are multifold as compared to yesteryears. So I believe you really have to understand or try to understand your child at an early stage and look for what is making him or her happy and contented. Of course, you have to give a little bit of guidance in terms of how the choices that he or she is making might also be, a career option, just to provide kind of a stable footing ground. But even if it does not happen, I think we all end up well in life. One more point I want to add is that as parents, we are limited by the world that we have seen. And it is always nice that allow your child to explore the world on her own.
Yes.
At the same point of time, allow her exposure to institutes like ICS and career option facilities that can do it in a more scientific way, in a more professional way, rather than the Brownian motion of a very, very complex world that we live in.
Yes.
And if it can be done in a more structured way, then of course there is what you have discovered about your child, what the child has discovered about himself or herself, and then a little bit of guidance by professionals who have seen more children than you and have more experience in the realm of education. I think all these three, if put together, might be the most logical thing to move forward. Although we all realize it much later than we should have.
So it ideally should be a collaborative
Yes.
effort
Yes.
and a process
Yes.
of student-centered approach,
Yes.
where we look at the aptitudes, the interests, the talents, the passion, because important that in your journey you find a career that will give you purpose in life, fulfillment, happiness. So the student and the parents to be able to know how they can help guide their students to prepare for their future, the students' future, according to future trends rather than our past, because things have changed a lot.
Right.
And then of course taking the advice of experts in the field. So all of it, when it comes together,
Right.
leads to perhaps the best decision. And again, it's a process,
Right.
because with fast-paced changes, as we journey in life, we are going to change. We are going to grow in experience and knowledge. The world is changing. So it's a constant alignment and realignment of our inner universe with the
Right.
outer universe.
Right.
A collaborative effort, and this is such a wonderful way of going about it, which you have experienced and you have shared. Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Rishi Sethi, for coming and sharing so candidly your views, your journey with Nikita. Thank you, Nikita. You're about to leave shortly. You're very busy, but you found time to share your journey with us. And we are so happy to have you back as a successful student of Ashoka, who has this very impressive degree. I am so proud of it. Thank you.
Thank you so much,
very
ma'am.
much.
Thank you so
All
much.
the best.
Thank you.
For a splendid future
Thank you so much, ma'am.
of great happiness and success and fulfillment.